I'm just gonna keep this live for a bit and see who shows up. Oh, I see a little thumbs up. I appreciate that. I don't know if I don't see any numbers, so. If you're catching the recording of this, you can fast forward through, but I am not going to, well, you know, what the heck. Let me well, we've got one viewer. I know this is not a sexy topic, but I also know that if we don't talk about something like this, we will never get to the bottom of it. So, I'm being told that my connection is weak, and I don't understand why it would be. I'm in my home. So, anyway, let me go ahead and record something anyway, and I can refurbish this, and hopefully Facebook will share it out there. I really want to talk about this article that I shared on Facebook the other day, and it talked about 10 abusive tactics that a particular candidate used during the debate. And what was interesting about this was, as I was sitting watching the debate, there was something very familiar about the exchange going on. And I turned to the woman next to me and I said, he reminds me of my ex-husband. And it was in that moment, as I watched the exchange, that I started to feel a little heaviness. And it just didn't seem right to me, and I was disgusted by the whole entire debate. So when I saw this article shared on Facebook, it validated for me. It sort of listed like 10 signs emotional abusers use as tactics, right? And it didn't outright call this person an abuser, but it just said these are emotional abuser tactics. And it talked about lying and blame shifting and yelling and shouting and projecting and fear mongering, you know, all those types of things. And that really validated something for me. It was like, okay, what I was feeling there, I knew it. I knew there was something familiar about this. And so I shared the article. And I also saw another woman post something about how she was a bit triggered by that exchange. And so I shared the article and I said, well, definitely I know there are probably other people out there who had the same experience. And of course, I got 2 replies from, you know, people who I know are Trump supporters. And they didn't really reply to the article per se. They replied by talking about the female candidate. And, you know, and I very, you know, calmly just explained to them, you know, this really isn't about her. This is about the topic matter. And both of these candidates are flawed. But for me, this subject matter is too important to ignore. So let's just take your feelings about the candidates out of it and look at the subject matter. And this is why I'm saying why abuse is acceptable, because we tend not to want to identify it. We tend not to want to call it what it is, okay? And so I'm not saying that this person is an abuser, because abuse means that this is repeated behavior, right, over and over again. Well, we have seen some of those repeated behaviors over and over again. And one telltale sign for me was at the end when I heard this person say they were going to talk about the other person's husband's indiscretions. Like they were going to really go for the gut on something that had nothing to do with what the debates were about, policy, but they were going to go personal, and they were going to go personal in a way that was really going to hurt that person. To me, that's a sign of a bully, and that's the sign of an abuser. Because I remember the morning that I was arrested from my home for throwing a wedding album at my ex-husband, because I was sick and tired of these same kinds of tactics. And it was because he threatened me. They threaten you. They use things. It's fear mongering, okay? Don't get me wrong. I am not here to talk about the candidates. What I am here to talk about is to be able to identify behaviors. This is why I am doing what I'm doing. This is why I created the Forgotten Women Project. This is why I created the languages of domestic abuse, the languages of abuse. Because just with those 2 replies from women that I got, it told me a lot about where people are in the subject of abuse. We talk about it, we talk about it in a very, paint your fingernail purple, do a walk, that sort of thing. We talk about it in a very sort of just on the surface kind of way, but we never want to go deep with it. Identify it. Call it what it is. This is what angers me. And to me, that's a layer upon layer character problem with someone like that. That's some deeper issues for me. And because I've experienced that triggered me in a way, that bothered me in a way. So I didn't want to make this about the debate or make this about the candidates, but I wanted to make it about that exchange. And for that reason, I will not watch any more debates, because I know what's going to happen next. It's going to get nasty. It's going to get dirtier. And the way she was able to stand up there, because she was prepared, she knew it was coming. A lot of other people do not have that opportunity to be prepared, to always be prepared for what's going to happen next. Because when you live with someone who is abusive in that way, there's no real way to prepare for it. And when you live with someone who is abusive in that way, it knocks you down. It continues to knock you down emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and all those ways living. And one of the first things that I thought about was the spouse. Wondering exactly what that spouse has to deal with a person like this, because I know what I had to live with. So anyway, I just wanted to talk about that this morning. I wanted to bring that to you guys' attention. I don't know if you guys saw that as well when you watched the debate. And if you're going to watch the next one, just look out for those things and being able to identify those type, because that's going to be as helpful for all of us to be able to identify what abusive behavior looks like, because it's not always just physical. And if you look at the power and control wheel when it comes to domestic abuse, you will see all of those things that were done listed in that power and control wheel. Okay? And like I said before, this is one of the reasons why I'm doing the languages of abuse. This is an opportunity to share with the community what abuse looks like. Thank you, Kim. What abuse looks like from the survivor's perspective, and really get an intimate look of what their emotions are, what they're dealing with. And this in turn will help you all who've never experienced or never lived through it to better understand and then know how to properly respond. Know how to properly respond to it or help someone that's going through it. So our first show is going to be October 23rd in Flagler County at the Flagler County Art League. And we're going to have interpretive dance. We're going to have spoken word. We're going to have music done by survivors of abuse. Thanks, Mike. I have a short skit that I have written, and we're going to have actors from the City Repertory Theater be a part of that. And I'm really proud of this. And what I'm hoping to do with this, guys, is take this into all these different communities. So every time you see it, it's going to be different stories from women in different communities, because every woman's story is not the same. So if you'd like to see something like this in your community, let me know, and we can work on trying to get there and assemble a group together. Thanks, Louisa. Thank you. I appreciate that. And also, we have a Facebook page. Please look for the Forgotten Women Project on Facebook. Like our page so you can keep up with what we're doing in the community. And I'm actually going to be at the Inspired Mic tonight. Michael Ray King, who's here on this, I was going to call it a scope, on the recording. I'm going to be talking a little bit and sharing my story about what happened to me. And I had an opportunity to write it in a book. For those of you that don't know about my book, Who the Hell Do You Think You Are? And you can find that on Amazon and Kindle. But the most important thing about this today was that I wanted to share with you all what a lot of other survivors were probably seeing when they watched that debate. And then I wanted you to be aware. So as you continue to watch this thing go on until November, you are able to see some of those signs as well, and and sort of understand what's going on. Oh, thank you, Kim. I appreciate that. I hope you wrote me a review. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I really would. And for all of us to just understand and be able to identify what abuse looks like. All right. So thank you guys for coming on. I appreciate it. I had a slow start, but you guys came on in support, and I always appreciate that. So as I always say, go out and change the world. Okay. See you guys next time. Bye-bye.